Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to All Things Superman, where we simply talk about everything related to Superman, from comics to movies and everything in between. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. So, today, Friday, January 31st, 2014, we get another big piece of news related to the new Man of Steel or Batman vs. Superman movie that's coming out now in 2016. As you know, or as you may know by now, a couple of weeks ago, I reported that the Man of Steel 2, or Batman Superman as it's affectionately known, was being pushed back to 2016, and you can check out my prior video related to that. But today we get a major big announcement about who is going to play Lex Luthor and who's going to play Alfred in the new movie, and that's what I want to discuss in today's video. And as always, we talk about it objectively. Talk about what it could mean, the benefits, the pros and cons of it. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the decision of who's going to play Alfred in the new movie, Batman Superman in 2016. And that person is none other than Jeremy Irons. Now, this is a somewhat unfamiliar name. You may not be familiar with him. I think he's most notable for playing the voice of Scar in The Lion King. Even if you look him up on IMDb, you probably won't find much anything familiar coming from him that you may know. He wasn't, I don't think that I know of that he's been in any kind of major movies that would make you know his face. So again, let's just talk about him and talk about that decision a little bit. Now, the first thing I'll say about him is that he absolutely has the look of what we know Alfred to typically be. He's a British actor. He kind of, if I'm not mistaken, he does have a British accent as well. And he just fits that description of what we've known Alfred to be, even from the 90s Batman movies. He's kind of an older guy. He has that butler kind of look to him. Not necessarily that Alfred is necessarily all a butler, but he definitely has that look to him that he can definitely hang with Ben Affleck in this movie. So I think overall that the choice to choose him is a really good choice, because they're going with a lesser known actor to play Alfred this time, and it's not necessarily somebody that people are going to be all up in arms about. You probably won't hear too much flack about this guy, the choice for him to play Alfred, because again, there's really nothing that's known about him. And Alfred is not like this super major character that people are going to be upset about because their favorite actor is not going to be chosen to play him. So I think I've not seen enough of his work to know what his acting skills is or is not. So and then, like I said, with Alfred being a secondary character, I'm sure that he will be in this movie. It's not that big of a deal. So they could have gotten, the variety that they could have chosen from to play this movie was, they could have gotten pretty much anybody. Well, I wouldn't say anybody, but anybody that looks familiar or that looks something like Alfred. So again, I think overall it's a good choice. I'm really anxious to see what direction they're going to go with him playing Alfred and the relationship between him and Ben Affleck as Batman. So I think it's an interesting choice. Now, on to the big news I think that is going to get a lot of attention online. That's probably already starting to get a lot of attention as I'm filming this video, because actually the news just came out this morning. And that is the decision of who is going to play Lex Luthor in this movie. And first of all, I gotta say that none of us, thought this. None of us guessed or would have even considered this actor playing Lex Luthor, and that person is Jesse Eisenberg. Now, you may know Jesse Eisenberg. He's been in quite a few movies. The Social Network, you may know him from. Now You See Me, you may know him from that, and a few other movies as well. Zombieland was terrific comedy, which I like. So that's the choice, guys. We got our Lex Luthor. So I want to talk about that a little bit, get you all's opinions like I always do, and see where we go and see what this choice actually means. So let's talk about a couple of the cons first. I think the first thing that's going to come out of this that's bad about it, and I don't necessarily always agree with this side of it, but he's going to get a lot of flack, probably just as Ben Affleck did. Probably not as much, but a lot of flack because he doesn't typically look like what we know Lex Luthor to be. To me, again, that's always a minor thing. If you can get a character to look, or if you can get an actor to look like the comic book character, or what we've typically known the comic book character to be, then that's just a plus. But I don't think that it's a necessity at all that we have somebody that looks like what we know them to be. So, but I do think that it's become, over the course of all of these comic books being made, I think it's become an important issue to discuss nonetheless. So that's going to get a lot of flack, that he doesn't necessarily look like Lex Luthor, or any rendition of Lex Luthor that we've seen prior to him playing it in this movie. Now, another thing that I believe that's probably going to be a big topic of discussion is whether or not he's going to shave his head. I don't necessarily think that's a con or a pro. I just think that that's one of those things that's going to develop, kind of like one of those things like in Man of Steel about Clark Kent having a beard and how he was going to shave and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I think this is going to be a thing that's kind of like that, where, you know, is he going to shave his head? Is he going to be the bald Lex Luthor or whatever? Now, honestly, to me, I'm cool either way. I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't. I don't think the bald head is a thing that necessarily defines Lex Luthor. And if you recall, in Superman 1 and in Superman 2, Lex Luthor had wigs or toupees, whatever they were, wigs on most of the time anyway, so he wasn't bald. I think at the end of Superman 1, the Christopher Reeve Superman 1, when Superman, you know, flew him and Otis to the prison or to jail, that's when he removed his wig off for the first time and we saw him bald. So even in the original Superman movies, it wasn't that big of a deal that he had hair or that he was bald. So, and then I believe in Superman 2, when they showed him in jail, of course he was bald and stuff then, but again, that wasn't a major thing related to his character. But I do think that's going to be a topic of discussion of whether or not he's going to shave his head or not, and that remains to be seen. So I guess we'll see what happens. Now, let's jump over to some of the good things, or some of the pros that I believe about this choice in Jesse Eisenberg. And the first thing is that I think that he is the right age. If I'm not mistaken, he's like either 30 or 31 now. So I've always said that whoever this Lex Luthor was going to be, that we needed it to be somebody that was kind of fairly young, so they would be able to kind of stretch them out over this DC cinematic universe. So as you know, we're only a couple of movies into the universe, and that's basically The Dark Knight and Superman, Man of Steel. You can't really count Green Lantern because it kind of flopped, and I think that they're going to reboot it anyway. So I don't think that you can even really count that movie. But if you want to add that, even still, we're only a few movies into the universe. So this his age kind of gives him some room to kind of branch him out over this universe. So we really don't know what's going to happen with how many Man of Steels there are going to be, if it's going to be a trilogy, if it's going to be more, or what Lex Luthor's role is going to be in the Justice League, or if they do a Flash movie, or another reboot the Green Lantern movie, or whatever the case is going to be. We don't really know, and I think that he's the right age to whatever they decide to do in the future, even if they don't have a plan at this point, which I believe they do. But whatever they decide to do in the future with him, I believe that he'll still be young enough, and he won't be this older Lex Luthor as we've kind of known him to be. And also, this kind of opens up his age kind of opens up a dynamic with him just doing some other stuff as Lex Luthor, and him being portrayed as a different character. One of the things I really like what Warner Brothers and DC and Zack Snyder and David Goyer are doing is they're kind of redefining all of these characters in a ways that's not taking them from what we know them to be, the core of the characters, but just giving a different spin on the character. And I think that's what's really necessary for today's audience. And I don't think that Lex Luthor, just like I said about Superman, was going to be able to be this same typical character that we know him to be. He's going to have to be interesting in other ways. And I think that's a good thing, again, about Jesse Eisenberg's age, that kind of provides that. So I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with that. Another good thing I think about this choice is that one of the things that we know Lex Luthor to be is a sort of rich, genius billionaire guy. Now, I think Jesse Eisenberg has kind of played that role before, even in The Social Network, the Facebook movie. We've kind of seen him as that arrogant, genius, kind of smart guy. So I think at the core, that's really what Lex Luthor is. So I think he already has at least the core elements he's already played a role that has those core elements of Lex Luthor in him. And I think that would transfer really well to playing Lex Luthor. So he kind of has that kind of fast talking kind of thing that you would expect somebody like a Donald Trump to be, you know, or somebody like that. So again, I think that's going to transfer really well into Lex Luthor. Now, the last thing I'll say about Jesse Eisenberg is that I think overall that he's a really good actor. He's so far kind of been underrated. I think he just hasn't been in the right kind of movies that kind of show off his real talent and his skill. Not that he's just, you know, a Denzel Washington or something like that, but I think he has more to give than what's been shown on screen already. He's just kind of one of those guys. I have that feeling about nothing has happened where that I can prove that, but I just think he does have really good raw material, and he kind of has a niche in the market. So I think overall he's a really good actor and kind of underrated. So overall, I think with both these choices as Jeremy Irons as Alfred and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I think it's another pretty good choice in this whole Man of Steel thing that's shaping up to be. Now, I will say that this cast is kind of shaping up to be one of those things that none of us kind of expected. The Ben Affleck playing Batman choice came out of nowhere. The Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman came out of nowhere. Now the Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor came out of nowhere. And again, the Alfred choice was kind of a secondary character, so I don't think it was too important to cast that character as somebody that looked like Alfred or something like that, which they did anyway. And I think, again, Jeremy Irons is going to fit that part really well. So again, my enthusiasm again about this movie is still pretty high. I think it's going to be pretty good. I think this cast is very interesting to see how this particular cast is going to play together. It's really interesting to see a Jesse Eisenberg and a Ben Affleck and a Henry Cavill kind of next to each other or juxtaposition to each other on the screen. So I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic, and it's definitely sparked my interest thus far. They're going in a direction that none of us would have expected. And again, another good thing about this whole choice is that I believe that this again proves that DC and Warner Brothers do have some kind of plan under their belt with what they're doing and with their casting with this movie and the DC cinematic universe. It's been long speculated now, especially with them pushing the movie back, pretty much a full year, that they kind of been sitting around twiddling their thumbs and they don't know what they're doing. So I think choices like this again prove that they kind of have some kind of plan under their belt going into this universe. Alright guys, so the last thing I'll talk about in this video, it's something kind of off topic, but it's a comment that I received from one of my subscribers, and her name is Lady09 Giggles. And she brought up an interesting concept as we were talking about the delay in the Batman vs. Superman movie. She brought up an interesting topic or concept that said that basically the Dark Knight universe that Christopher Nolan created was a bigger problem for the DC cinematic universe, then it was a help. And basically what she was saying is that, well, and I'm kind of paraphrasing her thoughts, and I hope this is what she was saying, but she kind of talked about, or she was basically saying that what happened with Nolan is that he wanted to create this Dark Knight or Batman universe that that basically included only Batman, because he didn't want Batman to be dwarfed by any other character. So he created this universe to where Batman was the largest character, where he could be seen as a superhero and not stand next to somebody like a Superman, or have any kind of villains such as an alien coming down that would be kind of unbelievable for him to tackle. So Nolan was went on record saying that he wanted to create this universe that that was realistic for Batman to live in. And I think what Lady 09 was saying is that that universe kind of in a way it hindered how they were going to branch out with the Man of Steel universe and the DC cinematic universe as a whole. And I think that's an interesting topic, and I wanted to get you all's thoughts on that as well and see what you thought about it, because I'm really kind of leaning toward what she's saying is kind of true, because had this world with the Dark Knight had not been created, or it was different in a way that was more, I guess, user-friendly to the DC cinematic universe, then it would have been easier to branch out with, like, say, the Wonder Woman movie or the Flash movie, because we could have seen like Flash existing in a Dark Knight world, or Superman existing in that world. But what they had to do with Man of Steel, and what I've been saying in a lot of my prior videos, is that they had to really recreate a universe from scratch that all of these DC superheroes could be in, namely Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Aquaman. So, or and some of the others too, the Martian Manhunters, and people like that. But again, I just thought that was a really interesting concept. So again, with all of that being said, guys, I'll end the video here. I want to get your thoughts in the comment section as well. Again, this is one of these things that's going to be really big. I think today is the day that everybody's just kind of finding out about it. So you're going to see a lot of videos pop up. You're going to see a lot of heat going out. I'm sure to Jesse Eisenberg, if my heart goes out to him right now, just kind of like Ben Affleck. I know people are going to kind of be upset about this choice. Again, I don't think it's going to be as huge as the Ben Affleck decision, but I think it's definitely going to be one of those things people are going to kind of be upset and angry about. So, guys, again, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Let's talk, let's discuss it, let's dialogue about it objectively. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As the news comes out, I'm going to be talking about it, going to be putting up some more videos. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.